Hey, I'm Jeff Juliano. I'm a mix engineer, and welcome to my kitchen. You might be wondering why we're not in some awesome studio and we're sitting here again in my kitchen, but I've spent many years working in dark studios, basement studios, rehearsal spaces where you never knew what time of day it was and the creative vibe was just zero. So I've developed a way of working where I can start in the box on a record or song and get a song to a good place and then open it up in my studio, which is in my dark basement, through all my summing gear and everything else I use, and it's perfect. One of the biggest issues I have as a mix engineer is file organization. I usually get the 250 stereo audio files in a folder with the BPMs on it. How I handle this is I have a mix prep assistant who goes through the song, figures it out, color codes it, makes everything familiar for me. So when I get to mixing, I'm not fixing, I'm not cleaning toms, I'm not wasting time. All my time is creative, and that's the most important thing to me. But I realize that a lot of people don't have the luxury of having a guy mix prep their songs and organize them for them. So if you're doing that on your own, set aside time the day before or a couple of days before you start mixing and prep it yourself. Go through it, weed through it, do all the cleanup then. So when you actually sit down and work, you're 100% creative. You'll work smarter, you'll work faster, and at the end of the day, the client will be happier. Okay, so now that I have the session prepped and looking great and familiar to me, then I start pushing up faders and learning the song. Just going for a rough balance of the song, panning, minor EQ points, but I'm not doing anything critical because I want to do that in my room with my monitors and my summing and my gear. That's what really matters to me. But just getting a rough feel of it from here is great. The beautiful part about working in Pro Tools is it gives you the ability to take any audio tracks or all the audio tracks and send them to multiple buses or outputs. And in my setup, all the tracks are evenly distributed across my Dangerous summing mixer. But I can also select all those tracks, do a shortcut, and within a second, I can send the entire session to the in-the-box mix bus. So on one fader, I have the in-the-box mix bus. The other fader is my Dangerous summing return. The great part about this is it gives me the ability to work anywhere. I can work in my kitchen, I can work in my deck, I can work in my boat, coffee shop, and come home and open up in my studio and all the Dangerous outputs come up. So right now, as you can see, all the outputs are grayed out because this session is set up to go through my summing mixer. So with one shortcut in Pro Tools, we highlight all the audio tracks and all the stereo output buses for effects and whatnot. Highlight them all, hold down Control, Shift, and Option. Click on here, and send it to in-the-box mix bus. So in addition to summing, we're now going to in-the-box mix bus. One click. Now that you've seen how I work in my kitchen in the box, now it's time to come down to my studio and see how I work out of the box with analog summing and make this thing sound like a record. I have 16 channels of D to A conversion via the Convert-8s, hard patched directly into the 16 channels of my 2-bus plus. And what I do is I evenly spread the tracks across these 16 channels into here. So on all my sessions, I have my effects returns always outputting to 15 and 16. As you can see here, they're coming out 15 and 16, showing up in the 2-bus in 15 and 16. All right, so I'm coming out of 16 channels in my Convert-8s into 16 channels in my 2-bus plus, left and right out of my 2-bus plus, through my outboard gear, into the 2 channels of my A to D converter, which goes right back into the session. The session print always stays in time with the song. So when I print my final mix, I print back into the session, and so I can use outboard if I want to, or plugins when I come back in to make it loud and impress all the people that don't know what they're doing. And the benefit is the print is always in sync with the session. So in Recall, I can A/B the mix before or the mix after. Simple as one click on the input switch. I'm Jeff Juliano. Thanks for watching. You've seen how I work. It's really simple. Be passionate about mixing if you do this for a living, But most importantly, do it and enjoy life.
Swinging